Hello, Craftin' buddies. It's Late Night Lori coming to you from Wisconsin on Monday, July 28th at 11:40 p.m. A little later than I had hoped because I've got a really simple card. But I joined a new friend of mine on her little group page, and we made a really fun card. And let me just get my iPad set up here. Turn down the volume. And this is the card we made tonight. So expect this to come on a Late Night Lori episode in the future. So last night I did this card with the spooky Halloween products. Pretty basic inside. And I should have done some paper tearing around here, but I didn't. But I will in the future. This was my sample background, and I die cut that haunted house and just did some ink blending on there, and I'm gonna turn that into a card similar to this one. So let me get these little gems out of the way and make room for tonight's stuff. I am going to do one of two cards, maybe both. I don't know if I'll do them both while we're working tonight. Oh, let me get that out of the way too. But I thought I would have two different color options, same layout. And this is what I'm working on. Hello, Fifi, you made it. Did you get my text message? I had started doing all my description for the YouTube class here, and then as soon as I pop over into the text messaging, what I started on the YouTube disappears. So I had copied and saved so I didn't have to retype everything. But anyway, here's what we're going to make tonight. Now, Fifi, I told you this was going to be a simple card, and it works with some of those diagonal cuts like your card did, but this one's going to be a lot easier. So I'm glad you got the text. So I have started making basically my sketches or my templates by making a card front and then writing the instructions, or the measurements rather, on the back. So here's what we have for this one. Hopefully you can see this well enough. But we're going to start with the base. So 8.5 by 5.5. I always start with my full piece of cardstock. So 8.5 by 11. I scored at the 4 1/4 all the way down, cut it at 5.5, so I've got two card bases. And then we've got a layer of cardstock. I used white, or we're going to use basic beige. We'll decide which one we want to do. And that one's going to get embossed. We're going to have a DSP layer that's 3 by 4 inches, and we're going to trim it in half on the diagonal. So my sample shows the diagonal going from the upper right to the lower left, but it wouldn't really matter. You could do it from the left to the right. We don't have to turn anything, so it's however you want to do it. All right. We're going to have a piece of cardstock that basically is the same as your base or coordinates with the base. That's 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. We'll have a piece of cardstock that's 3 by 4, so either like the white or the basic beige. Basically the same color as your embossed cardstock. That's what we're going to use, the smaller one. We're going to do our sentiment and or an image on there. And that's what I didn't pull out, a little image. But I think we're going to use the foliage pieces instead that I die cut from the Label Me Grateful dies. All right, so that's what these are from there. All right, and that's a bundle. This bundle, I believe, is on low inventory. So if you like it, you might want to get it before it's gone. Okay, so what do you think, Fifi? Should we do Mossy Meadow or should we do Pecan Pie? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What do you think? And I'm just going to use a sentiment here, 2 pieces from the Unbounded Love, because I had it out. So it's going to say, have a blessed day, friend. So we'll use that. I think I'll just kind of start getting these things together. And I'm going to leave this handy so we can kind of take a look at what our sample is going to be. So for this one, I have a piece of cardstock from the beautiful Gallery 6x6 Designer Series paper. Mossy Meadow, we'll start with the Mossy Meadow because that's on the left. And then what I plan to do with this one is use the Forever Plaid embossing folder on it. And I took the basic beige ribbon and I cut it in half. So right down the center. I just cut it in half because I wanted something smaller. And then I tied it with my little bow maker box. And then I unraveled some of the threads on here just to make it a little more outdoorsy, rustic looking. Okay. So we will make this one. I want to just try to adjust this knot on here a little bit. There we go. We'll make this one in a little bit if I do the second one here, or I'll do it later and I'll put it on my Facebook page too. But what I did with this is I liked this piece of grass. So I cut some off of one end, I cut some off the other end so that I had my 3-inch piece here. And then I just cut basically 1 inch off of the top and the bottom. That's a 3-inch piece that I'm going to use for this. All right. So these are just all extra pieces. I just brought them out there to kind of keep my cutting pattern together. All right. So we'll set this one aside for now, but I think this one's going to be really pretty. Okay. So let's start with the Mossy Meadow. Again, we've got our regular card base. And if you're joining me, aside from Fifi, well, including Fifi, thanks for popping in. But aside from Fifi, if you're brave enough and you want to let me know where you're tuning in from, that would be great. This one, we need to decide. The cardstock, or I'm sorry, the Designer Series paper I decided to use is the Floral Impressions because it has this foliage piece and I wanted to use those. So now, should I use the Fern, which is a 3D embossing folder, which is on the last chance list. It is still available. I think this is only $8 now. Or, because there's like sunflowers in here, should I use the sunflower embossing folder? Now, keep in mind, not a whole lot is going to show, so the sunflowers might not even be picked up. That's why I was kind of leaning toward the Fern. What do you think? Fern? Sunflower, just for the embossing for this layer. All right, I'm not hearing a response yet, so I think I'm gonna go with the Fern. And I'm gonna pull out my Bossy Betty here. And move some of these little goodies here. And because the Fern embossing folder is a 3D, I only need my base plate, which is number 1, and the plate number 4. So I'm glad we agree, Fern. So we're just going to put this in here. Now there's for those of you not familiar with these, there is a line on here. So if it's kind of a print that needs to be straight, you can use this to line up your cardstock, but this one doesn't really matter. So we're just going to put this in here. Oh, I guess I did this backwards for cranking here. All right. Just pop that right through. And put that off to the side. All right, so here's this one. And I'm going to go ahead and put this right on my base right now. Yeah, I don't think I'm lagging. I think it might still be you because that was happening with your group as well. But we came up with the same answer anyway, so it's fine. All right, and I do like the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room if I'm not quite straight. All right, so then this piece, let's see, where did my little sample go? Here, I'm going to take this piece and cut it on the diagonal. Now you can see these are both the same size. These are the same size, and this one's a little bit bigger. This actually deceivingly looks bigger, but it's the same size as this one. All right, so let's just take the DSP, and what I usually do is on my track, I just put a corner up there, and that can kind of help hold it. And then I put the other corner down here, centered in the track. I move my blade somewhere where it's going to land in the middle of the paper. And then when I put it down, it pierces the paper, and then I go in either direction so that I don't crumple up my corners. Alrighty, so this is going to go here, and we're going to have that little border of white. So let's go ahead and glue those on. There are so many fun layouts that I decided that on some of them that I really want to use again and that are very versatile, I'm going to do these templates. So I started doing them with my team. So I had 2 of them ready to go for our last team meeting. We only did 1 because then we goofed around with other stuff. But we're starting to do the sketches or the templates from the last catalog. So the 23 to 24 annual catalog. On page 22, there were 22 sketches. All right. So then this, I think this time I'm going to maybe put this up on dimensionals. All right, and we're going to put these here with our little sentiment. So let's go ahead and put our sentiment on here, and I'm going to pull in my Pearson mat, and I'm going to use the Mossy Meadow with this one. Hopefully this is inked enough. And let's just see, it might not be inky enough. Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, it'll be good. Excuse me. So I typically will tap my ink onto my stamp so that I don't go squish, squish, squish and get too much ink in there. So you can see even here, I have a little bit of ink on the block. But if you don't rock your block, that rhymed. Don't rock your block. You shouldn't have a problem with any over inking on the edges of your block. Okay, that turned out quite nicely. All right, and then these, we're gonna just kind of put on here. Let me close this up so I don't make a mess. I think I'll use maybe 3. We could kind of make a wreath-ish out of here. I think 4 is too many. Maybe not. But I think 3 would be enough. All right, so let's just start putting these on. We'll start with the one that's going to go on the top. So Fifi, I don't know if you're adding to the conversation or if you're just watching, but nothing is coming up for me. So I don't know if you're still lagging or if you're just watching, which is fine, either way. All right. So these I die cut out ahead of time just to save us time. You know how to use your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine or whatever device you have. I guess I want this a little more rounded here. There. See, another benefit of using the Tombow glue, I could shift that just a little bit. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Hello, Vicki. Welcome back. How hot was it in Arizona today? We were in the 90s again today. I think we're only supposed to be about 87 tomorrow. Only. It was shaded spruce, huh? Well, Fifi, it sure didn't. Well, of course, the camera can be deceiving, but it didn't look like shaded spruce when we were working on it. I don't know. I think I might want this fourth one on here. I think I'm going to put the fourth one on here. I'm going to tuck the end of the stem under one of those other leaves. This just doesn't look as smooth as I wanted it to look, so I'm glad I cut 4. What's been 113 in Phoenix? Yeah, I don't know with our humidity what the heat index was. I don't think it made it up over 100 heat index wise, but yeah, we were in the upper 90s I think today again. Or maybe it was the 90s with the heat index. I don't know. Fifi, what is it temperature wise by you? So I'm just going to tuck this under the leaf here and curve that little puppy around there a little bit. There. I think I'm a little happier with that than just those 3. So let me get this out of the way. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue that on there. Vicki, I don't remember. Are you a demonstrator? I know Fifi is. Not that warm, huh, Fifi? What's your average summer temperature, Fifi? All right, isn't that pretty? I'm going to put this up on dimensionals. I want that layer up a little bit this time. So wasn't this super easy? So Vicki, you're a demonstrator as well. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So here's this. I think this is just such a fun little layout. And then let's find some embellishments. Maybe these are the shades of green, hexagons that go with the Turtley Sweet. These super light greens might be all right. What do you think? Or some of these I need to go through my embellishments and see which ones are retired. I could do these pearls if I colored them with the Mossy Meadow. That might look nice. Let me get a Mossy Meadow alcohol blends. Let's just see. These just seem a little too casual. You think metallic? The metallic ones I have though are, I don't know that they're current. Do we have metallic ones that are current? Well, these might work too. these matte dots. We could do those. Let's just see what these look like with a little bit of Mossy Meadow on them. I think this is going to be pretty. I'm just going to color 5 of them, because I'm thinking it might be a 5 embellishment day. And my Mossy Meadow is all, the tip is all broken, but it works good for doing something like this. And then we'll find my take your pick tool, and we'll just start putting these on. Go over here, maybe one more over here. Maybe we'll kind of tuck that one under a leaf. There. I like that. Antique pearls, they're colored. These are really pretty. I really like them. And you know, I kind of confused myself because it wasn't, those were on pre-order. So when I originally had ordered them, and then I wasn't signed into my demonstrator page and I couldn't find them, and I thought, oh my goodness, these are all they're retired already. I can't even find them online. And then it occurred to me that they're brand new, and log in and you'll find them. So what I'll do is I'll put a layer of white in here. I don't think that I'll emboss it at all, but I could do, well, there's a, that one came off of here. These weren't stuck good enough. And this one lost its little glue dot. All right, little glue surgery here. What was I saying? I could use a frame to do a little bit of that embossing folder and my glue. There we go. No, I just lost that. Here it is. Where'd my take your pick tool go? Just to get that fern embossing folder around the layer for the inside, I think would be pretty. So I'd have tone on tone in here. So I'll do a layer bigger with the fern on there, and probably a 3x4. I think that's what this was, right? Yeah, 3x4. So it'll be tone on tone. So, excuse me. What do you think of that? I like that one. And it looks, to me, it looks very different from this one. So I actually put my sample, because I got this as a swap at our Midwest demonstrator event. I got it as a swap, I'm pretty sure. But they had stamped just some flowers on the front and then used the sentiment, and it looked quite pretty. But I think I like it with the extra texture and a dimension on there. I think I'm going to have to use glue for that embellishment too, so I'm going to be gentle so that doesn't move. So if you want to hang around, hang around. I am going to go ahead and put this one together quick. So same thing, card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Do both bases at once out of one piece. And then this one, I'm going to run through the embossing folder with the Forever Plaid. And rather than bring that up on my table, I'm just going to do it right behind me here. Just to save the mess. Well, thank you. All right, we can move this out of the way. So this is going to go right on here. Sometimes it's just a matter of color and designer series paper choices, you know. But the one I got in a swap was very pretty, and I think we used Secret Sea for the image and the sentiment. And this one was just my sample. Now this is a current paper. Let me grab that quick. But this is just going to be my template basically. And I'm going to put them in a folder or a box or something. I don't know. I'll try to organize them. So this paper is the Weekend Adventures. So there's, excuse me, there's 3 designs, but you get 4 sheets of each one, which I think is kind of fun, instead of just 2 sheets of each one, because that way if you're mass producing anything, you have more sheets to do your design. All right. So this piece, I'm going to cut on the diagonal. Okay. So again, this was just 3 by 4. We're going to go ahead and glue that. Nested Essentials, yeah, that would be good. Nested Essentials is a very good go-to. But then you have another layer on top of that one, and you'd still probably want to then either layer some more DSP on here. I mean, that's a good way to use up all your DSP instead of hoarding it, right? Yeah, the 4 sheets of each I think is a great idea, especially like for us that have classes. If we want everybody to have the same card, or if we're doing a swap, it gives you a lot more options. So if you're using like a 4-inch wide layer, you've got twice as many of the same one, which I think is awesome. All right, so I'm going to use the same sentiment, but I think I'll clean it off because I'm not going to use Mossy Meadow on this one. I'm going to use Pecan Pie. So let's just clean this off. Yeah, I have quite a stash of DSP. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely not going to lie. It's also pretty, you know, but I have gotten much better at using up my DSP than when I first became a demonstrator, because it's like, oh, I don't want to cut this up. It's all so pretty. But that's the idea. You need to cut it up to use it. If you don't cut it, you won't use it. I'm going to put this in about the same place. And again, I just hold it for a few seconds, and it gives the ink a chance to soak into the paper. Okay. So we can go ahead and put these together. What do you think of cutting that ribbon in half and fraying the ends? Oh, that's what I didn't do on the other one. I thought there was something else I wanted to do. We'll go back to that one, because I had the other half that I was going to play with, making a little something to go with the branches. All right. So here we're going to kind of do our little cluster. I think I'm just going to do 3 with this one. I think we'll go something like that. And then this bow, I think that looks good because the bow will be right in the middle. So I don't think I'm going to use that. So let's start gluing these down. Yeah, your Make It Mondays that use up a lot of DSP, that helps your people use up their stuff. You buy it because it's pretty. And if you don't use it up, you won't buy more. Right, Vicki? What do you think? Get them to buy more pretty stuff. And you know, the funny thing is, back when I first started, and I saw, you know, so many of the very pretty papers, and You don't really think about them being trendy, but they do kind of go out of fashion. You know, I look at some of my old cards and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that paper's kind of hideous. But it was very fashionable at the time. So I think that one's going to kind of go there. Oh, thank you, Fifi. This is one you could do with your group pretty easily. Did you take a screenshot of those measurements? I'm going to try to add them to the comments. Not tonight, but probably tomorrow. And then this we'll put here. And I want this end, hopefully I've been up on camera far enough. I want this end to land in the middle so that when I put the branch on there, or the bow on there rather, it's going to kind of camouflage that. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is snip off the bottom leaf. There's nothing that says I have to keep it as big as what it was, right? And I'm just squeezing a little bit on here and then just kind of spreading it around with the tip of the bottle. If you have a lot of overage on your glue, then it probably means you're using too much. And I didn't put glue on the very end because I want these to kind of be able to have some depth to them. And I kind of wanted that up a little bit higher. I might have to snip off a little bit more. Let's see how that looks. It's not going to matter because the bow will cover it at the end. I think that'll be okay. All right, so I'm going to get some glue dots. The Impossible card, I'm not sure what that one is. I've done one of those never-ending cards where they just fold and fold and fold and fold and you just keep going over and over and over, and they're okay, but then I kind of think, well, what's really the purpose? Sometimes I look at the fun folds and I'm like, okay, well, that's really cool, but why? Does it really add value to the card? Is the person I send it to going to be confused? So I don't know what that Impossible card is. I might have to look it up, huh? Okay. Now I do see there's one little loop that came off the bow. I kind of like that. So let's try to pull a couple of these others off. That's kind of random. That was a happy little accident. Well, that's kind of cool. All right, so let's do some more dimensionals. I think I'm going a little longer tonight, probably because I'm making the second card. It brings me satisfaction when I can start going around the edges of my dimensional sheets too. The flag card that you twist? I don't think I've seen that. I guess I need to try to watch more videos, eh? Now that, I think, is quite striking, if I do say so myself. This would be a, even though it's got a bow on it, I think it would be suitable for a guy. I do. Because it's not bling bling crazy. And I'm going to go get my pecan pie. Well, let's see what it looks like with the pecan pie. Oh, there's those glue dots from the other two beads that, or the other two embellishments that I couldn't get to stick on. So Vicky, you're saying you're asking, is that the flat card you twist? Oh, I get it now. Let me go get my pecan pie. You know, a lot of times I bring my blending brush over and my alcohol blends just in case I'm going to use them. And a lot of times I don't. And tonight I didn't think I was going to use them, and I ended up using them. I'm just going to do 3 for this one, because if I'm going to give it to a guy, he's not going to get as much out of the gems as me, right? And I try not to put too much thought into placement, because if I have to think about it too much, they probably don't belong on there. And sometimes I can put 7 on there without any hesitation. Not real often, but sometimes. And then I don't know if you've noticed too, but with like my embellishments, I like to open up the adhesive, put in my ruler, and just slice up. For me, it's the left side of my pack, because then I can just slide these out. I don't like having a fight with this adhesive all the time, and it sticks on stuff where I don't want it to stick. So I just slide my packs open. All right, let's go back to this card, because what I thought I would do is take out some of these strands, because once I have it cut in half, they come out of here pretty well. Of course, they also stick to my dry fingers. And I don't know, we'll see if I can get a bow out of this at all. But if you're careful, you can just kind of slide this stuff off. I got some of these off, but these might not, this last one might not come out. That's coming. There. So you can get all that little fringe off of there. So now we've got all of these. And this might not work, but you know, let's give it a try anyway. Oh, Fifi, okay, you posted. Oh, on my Facebook page, great. I will take a look. I will definitely take a look. You know, a lot of times too, I'll be scrolling through something and I'll just see some different cards. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea. And rather than watch the tutorial or whatever, I just try to figure it out. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it just turns into my own creation. So I'm just going to put these all together, and I'm going to get my little bow thing out again. We'll see if this works. And tuck all these through. And what do you think of that? You can probably put that up here somewhere. Do you think that works? Or is that too much? So if I put it down here, I think it gets lost. If I put it up here by one of the other branches, what do you think of that? I could trim those edges a little bit. Yes or no? Yes or no to the bow? Just gonna trim that off a little bit. We'll do a little like texturizing like they do on hair, right? Yes, you like the bow? Cool. Oh, I have to glue that embellishment on too. All right, so let's put a little dot here. We'll add that embellishment. Thanks for hanging out with me, ladies. This took a little longer than what I normally do, but I don't usually make 2 cards either. I usually try to keep it to just 1 card. All right, and then we'll get another glue dot for the little bow. And I'm actually going to roll this and put it on the card rather than putting it on the ribbon, because I think the ribbon's going to fight me a little bit. There, what do you think? I think that's kind of fun. Good thinking, yes to the bow. All right, so here's our little template. Vicki, I don't know if you were on here when I was saying that I kind of make a card front so that it's got all the parts and pieces except for the base, but then I indicate what the dimensions or what the measurements are for the pieces that are in it. And then you just kind of follow along and put it together. So here we go. This or that, what's your favorite? What do you think? So you can vote here. You can also go over to my Facebook page, which is also Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. Sorry, my iPad cable's in the way. So yeah, you can go to Lori's Little Bit of Crafting for my Facebook page. I will post pictures of these. And then, you know, if you want to add a picture of something that you've made with this layout, that'd be great. Just put it in the comments under this picture. I love to see what other people are making. So thank you both for hanging out with me. And I hope you enjoyed this. It looks like my video is a little elongated. I don't know why it does that sometimes. So these cards look longer on my video screen. I don't know if they look longer for you or if it's just my iPad. Who knows? But eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I know, Fifi, that I do really like them both. I think it kind of depends on who I'm going to send it to, which one I'm going to go for. But, you know, they all have such a different look. Just glancing at them, you wouldn't necessarily even think they were the same layout. So thank you for the hearts. I love that. If you haven't already subscribed to my page, I would love it if you subscribe to my page as well. Feel free to share this. That's what this is all about. Sharing our creativity and ideas and getting ideas and suggestions from other people. So Fifi, I'm glad you popped in. I enjoyed your class too. Yeah, they do look a little elongated. Okay. I don't know what it is. Some days it doesn't do that, and I think sometimes it's just maybe because I went out of my YouTube and then back in when I sent that text to you. I don't know. So Vicki, you like them both, but if you had to, you'd have to do the pecan pie. Well, if you want to private message me your mailing address, I will mail you a pecan pie card. Because that's just fun to do. So yes, thank you, Fifi, and like my cards. Fifi, same with you. You shared, excuse me, you shared your phone number so I could text you. But if you want to private, either email me or private message me your address, I would love to exchange cards with you as well. So I appreciate you hanging in with me, ladies. I did 2 cards. We went a little long tonight, but it was fun having you both interact with me. So until next time, happy crafting.